Hey, how's it going guys? My name's Daniel, aka HashLips, and welcome to my channel where I teach you how to code. In today's video though, I am going to introduce you to Julien from EatTheBlocks. Julien is an amazing developer in the blockchain space and he's been here for a while. It's time we interview Julien to find out what he can share with us, and I'm very excited for this interview. So let's go ahead and meet Julien. I would like to introduce Julien from EatTheBlocks, and it's been a privilege to, connect with you. Maybe you can tell us a little bit more about your personal experience, on the blockchain and becoming a blockchain developer. I think it's really intriguing, and I think the audience would love to hear it from you, seeing that you are this experience in the space.
Yeah, so first, thanks for having me, Daniel. It was also great to get to know you on YouTube, find out about your channel a few months ago. And so, yeah, I'm going to share how I got into this space. So originally, I wasn't a developer at all. I used to work in finance. So for the first 3 years of my career after graduation, I was working in finance in Hong Kong. So I'm originally obviously not from Hong Kong. I'm French. Yeah. And so I went there. I was just doing an internship at first, and I thought I would be back after my internship after 9 months. But life took another interesting turn. So I worked 3 years in finance, very intense years, very interesting. And after these 3 years, I realized that finance wasn't my thing. I got started in 2010. So that was just after the financial crisis of 2008, and so it was really bad timing to get into the finance industry. It's like if you wanted to get in Wall Street in 1930, like just after the big crash. So then I wanted to take a break. So I came here in Taiwan just to learn Chinese, and I didn't know what I would do in the future. And then I was in 2013, and I met the first digital nomads at that time. So digital nomad was this new concept, these people who go they live 3 months in a different country, and they are like freelancer. Most of them are programmer. And are so free, and it's awesome.
Free spirit.
And I thought and I never heard about this before. And of course, at that time, all of this was basically very influenced by this book of Tim Ferriss, the 4 hours work week. So that was this whole movement was very nascent at that time. And so I met these guys, and I thought, okay, I didn't know you could do all of this thanks to programming. So I started to just do some research because at that time I didn't know what I would do with my life really. So I was open to anything. Yeah. And I said, okay, well, programming seems interesting, but it seems also a little bit difficult because you have all these things to learn. So I wasn't sure, but I thought, okay, well, I'm going to try to do some beginner stuff, and we'll see where that takes us. So I studied the basics, HTML, CSS, PHP, and WordPress, because when you're getting started in programming, WordPress is very, very easy. And so I got my first customers this way. I became a freelancer. And that was cool. I loved it so much. Really, I love programming. I was like, wow, this is awesome. But there was a little problem. I wasn't making much money.
Yeah, that's kind of a little bit of a problem when you're a nomad now.
Yeah. Like usually, like digital nomad / freelancer doesn't really rhymes with making money. Usually,
it sounds like just being an artist, man.
Yeah, you're sort of artist of code. So Occasionally, I would meet some freelancer or digital nomad that were doing well, but it wasn't the majority. So little by little, the situation improved. But a lot of people were more experienced than me. They told me, Julien, you got to remove two things from your CV: PHP and WordPress. You got to remove this.
WordPress has to go, man. WordPress is like that thing that you know you can do, but you don't show. That and Wix. I would recommend take that off. But yeah.
It's really something that a lot of beginners that they don't understand, because beginners, they want to put everything they know on their CV to look more impressive, and they don't understand that PHP and WordPress, it will just literally divide your salary by 2. So I started to listen to this advice, and I got more into JavaScript and React. So this did improve the situation. And then so I was checking out every day Hacker News. For those who don't know, this is a community for developers like Reddit. And so I was checking Hacker News every day, and I saw this name popping up, Ethereum. I was like, oh, okay, well, what is this Ethereum thing? Seems like very mysterious. So I started to do some research, and I just understood very remotely that it was connected to blockchain and Bitcoin, but it was very confusing at first. And then there was the DAO hack in 2016.
Yeah.
So I was seeing this name popping up from time to time, but I wasn't really sure what it was. And sometime in 2017, I don't know why, all of a sudden I did more research on it. And so I on the landing page, it was saying that it was that Ethereum is building a decentralized world computer. And I thought the idea was just so crazy. So from there, I started to do a lot of research. I bought the book of Andreas Antonopoulos called Mastering Bitcoin. And it's really with this book that I think I got into it, because I really understood how it was a revolution and how it's going to change everything. So I got really hooked in blockchain. But so in 2017, things were very different from now. I don't know when you got started, but in 2017, the industry was much more primitive, I would say. And the focus wasn't necessarily on Ethereum. The focus was on Bitcoin and so-called altcoins. So you had like a Litecoin and other crypto. You had one called Monero. So that was a privacy coin. So on Monero, basically, nobody knows anything. It's so crazy. It's like you send a transaction, you don't know who sent it to you, why, when.
So I remember that time period. I remember when it was the time period when Ripple, all those coins came out, and I mean some of these tokens are still big today. I don't hear personally a lot about Monero anymore in the NFT spaces that I'm in, but I know that Ripple, all those coins, Litecoin, they're still going for it. But I know exactly it's completely different to today's space. What's happening.
Yeah, But a lot of these coins, I mean, it has changed a lot, because at that time, for example, everybody thought that Repo would be the biggest coin, but actually not at all. So yeah, things definitely changed a lot. So my first job was on Monero, and that was a really, really tough first mission. For your first mission to work on a crypto like this, it's not really made for web developers. It's made for guys who are like hardcore coder, like low-level system programmer, because the code base of Monero and of Bitcoin, basically most of the client for blockchain, the code is written in C++ or in Rust or in Golang, but usually the average web developer doesn't really know these things. So that was really tough. And so at that time, on the one hand, I was super interested into blockchain, but on the other hand, I felt I wasn't sure I was competent enough to really stay in the space. And that's when I started to focus more on Ethereum. Okay. And Ethereum definitely was more appealing to me because it was more a platform to build application on top of it. Yeah, but you were not developing the Ethereum client itself. So I started to study Solidity and Truffle and all these tools. And at that time, these tools were much younger, much less developed than now. There was almost no tutorial at all. And I saw an opportunity here. I thought, okay, I think if I could be one of the first one to create these tutorials, I could maybe make a name for myself, and also teach myself how to do it. So that's when I created EatTheBlocks. It was supposed to teach myself, to teach others, and also to get customers in the space. And my technique worked so well because I created my channel in end of October 2017. And then I just, on my LinkedIn, I put the keyword Solidity. Yeah. Wow. Everything changed. Because I was just at the end of 2017 when there was this huge bubble in crypto. Yeah. And I had this deluge of leads. People sending me message, oh, you know Solidity. Oh, we have this project, and yeah, I was a small kid. Then, Instantly, that's kind of ridiculous because 6 months before, when I was sending my CV to get a remote job as just a regular web developer, there was no interest at all for my profile. It's like, crazy. Oh, who are you? Yeah, like, well, HTML, CSS, like, no, we don't care about you. WordPress. But yeah. And as soon as I put the right keyword, everything changed. And so I found this, my first full-time blockchain job for this company called Lending Block. They do basically, this is a lending platform for corporate, so you can borrow, for example, a Bitcoin or Ethereum, but this is some sort of compound, but cross blockchain and for institutional. And so I became their first employee, and I worked for them for 1 year, and that's really how I got started in the blockchain industry. Okay. So that was a great first experience, so it lasted 1 year, and after, unfortunately, the company had some issue that they had to get rid of most of their staff, including me. But at that time, I thought, okay, well, that's fine. I still like this industry. I'm going to keep going. So I have my YouTube channel, EatTheBlocks. So now it's time to maybe be a little bit more consistent and see what happens. So I started to be more consistent on EatTheBlocks. I released my first course somewhere. I think it was maybe end of 2018 or beginning of 2019. And I had my first customers, the first students who bought my course at that time. And man, I have to tell you, this is such a fantastic feeling. Because financially, it wasn't much. At the beginning, really, you cannot live off this when you're getting started with courses. It takes some time to really develop. But build up, the feeling, you have to be patient. But what actually, even when I received just $10 from a customer at that time, it felt better than receiving like $5,000 or $6,000 for my monthly salary. Oh, yeah. It just felt because this is different. You're not paid for your time, but you're paid for a product. So I could really tell like there was like a mental switch, like if I found some secret sauce, and I could tell like this would definitely be a very special moment in my career. That would be a before and an after. And so from there, I was doing some freelancing gigs. For most of my earning were coming from freelancing gigs, but I was developing this activity on the side. and it grew up to a point where I didn't have to do my freelancing gigs anymore. And so at some point in early 2020, I just stopped to do freelancing, and I just focused 100% on my courses. And so now in 2021 we became a company. We have several team members now. We have instructors. So I'm super happy of the development it followed. But if I have one big piece of advice to give to people who want to get into the space, is always think of how you communicate your communication. Never just learn things in your little corner and you stay alone and you don't interact with others. Because if you do this, when you're going to reach out for jobs, it's going to be so competitive because people don't know you at all. They just look at your CVs and like, all right, who is this guy? All right, 2 years of experience. Okay, let's compare with what we have. Oh, 3 years of experience. Sorry, buddy. Sorry. Yeah. So this is a very important thing.
Oh, wow. Well, Julien, I must say, like, listening to your whole story, just, I'm currently on some kind of path like that. But just listening to where you started off and your whole experience, since the nomad days where you just, did your own thing, you basically, did freelancing for a while, being left without a job, trying to do your new thing with the courses. And I completely understand what you mean by getting $10 for someone viewing your project. It's amazing. And I think it comes down to because people believe in your product that you have. And, I've got a little secret. I'm glad you went this path because it was because of you. And I think I mentioned this to you the other day, but it was because of you that I got into development myself and actually pushed myself to learn blockchain development too. So I'm very glad that you took that path. You actually answered one of my questions that I had.
Okay.
But let me check my list. So, Julien, so I actually have another question for you. And this is regarding something that's now currently happening in the space. And I'm sure you are very aware of it. But what do you think and what's your thoughts on NFT and NFTs in general?
Yeah, so NFTs, I think, are an absolute revolution. Probably, maybe even bigger than DeFi.
Yes.
And you should absolutely get into it and not listen to the naysayer and the mainstream media that say like this is just a expensive JPEG. These are the same people. Like 100 years ago, that when we had the first automobiles, the same people that say, oh, all these automobiles so noisy, so clunky. Oh, our horses are much better. They just don't get it at all. So the transformation that is really amazing with NFTs is to see all these struggling artists overnight being able to monetize their work.
Absolutely.
And it's really going to inspire a new generation of artists that were maybe just doing this on the side, that were the embodiment of the struggling artist, maybe working part-time job in cafe, etc. And finally, they can really commit 100% to what they really love, and especially at a time where we're going to have so much change in the workspace, with a lot of these jobs, a Starbucks job, etc., that will be gone soon. But maybe a lot of these people, they also had all these artistic inclinations, and they can actually live off them. So it doesn't matter that they lose their part-time job. So I think that this is great. And what's even more exciting is all the use case that we don't even imagine now, because there is whenever there is a new technological advance, it's very difficult to project ourselves and to see what it's going to enable. So we have a tendency to just think in terms of the existing thing, how it's going to replace things that already exist. But this is something that is defined by a famous investor. I think is one of the guys of A16Z. I think it's Chris Dixon or something. Because I listened to one of his podcasts recently, and he called this a skewmorphic innovation or something like. It's like a complex word, but basically it means the people who don't really understand our inability to see the full potential of a new technology and only see it in terms of what already exists. Yeah.
Okay. Well, that's like, I haven't heard that before, and I think that's pretty cool. I would like to find out what that word is, skewmorphic. I don't know. I'll have to Google that up. So I've got so many amazing questions here, but I'm just reading one that I actually want to find out from you, and I'll leave that one for last. But what would you say, okay, and this is your recommendation to developers. So you already gave kind of what not to do, don't sit in the corner, and not socialize and not put your name out there. But what else do you have to say to developers just starting in this space? What should they avoid in their learning journey? Not so much as finding a job, but in their learning journey on Ethereum or blockchain or Solidity.
So I see a lot of people who are coming in this space and they're very excited by NFTs or DeFi, etc. And then they want to be able to build blockchain application right off the bat.
Yeah.
But the truth is, unfortunately, for people who don't have a technical background, they cannot get there directly. They have to follow a certain learning path. So first of all, this is important to understand that all the blockchain technology is built on top of the web. So if you don't know web development, don't start to learn Solidity or etc. It's going to mess you up because Solidity is very different programming language, and the block, you have to understand that the technology is built in terms of a technological stack. So we have operating systems, so Mac OS, Windows, etc. Then you have applications that are built on top of them, like a web browser, server, etc. Then we have blockchains like Ethereum, etc. And then on top of them, then we have the NFT, the smart contract, etc. So where you stack in the tech stack is you start at the level of web development. So you have to learn HTML, CSS, JavaScript, and React. In your learning, you can be quite focused on building front-end application because a blockchain application tends to be front-end heavy. It means most of it is in the front end, and then you have a small smart contract. But if you just learn a sort of general web development, in your curriculum, you will find not only front-end development, but also back-end development, where you learn about a database, a so-called MVC framework like Ruby on Rails, etc. So actually, you can skip this part for blockchain. We don't really need it. Yeah, exactly. So really focus on the front end. Don't overcomplicate it. When you do some research, you always find some conflicting advice, and some developers that always recommend to do like the super complicated stuff, like let's do TypeScript, or let's do like this meta language. No. don't listen to this. Just keep it simple.
Wait
HTML.
for TypeScript. Don't do TypeScript yet. Just start with everything. Start with the basics, basically, like you're saying, right?
Yeah. Because people, it's interesting when you talk to developers. People come from different places. And developers who work at big companies, they will tend to overcomplicate things, and for beginners, it can be quite confusing.
Yeah.
So keep it simple. And once you feel like you can do simple web applications, you can start to study blockchain, and especially Ethereum. So you have all these different blockchain. If you go to CoinMarketCap, you see this huge list. and you see all this heated discussion on Reddit with the fan of Cardano and the fan of this blockchain. And it's very confusing because from a technological point of view, it makes sense that if another blockchain is faster than Ethereum and with more capacity, it makes sense that we should study this one. Yeah. But actually, so first, there are two things to understand regarding this is, first of all of these blockchains who are said to be better than Ethereum technologically, they make huge sacrifices in terms of decentralization. So there are a lot of, like a lot of them, I think that they're like glorified database. So that's one. And second, even if, let's say the technology of some of them is better than Ethereum, it's not impossible. Even if that's the case, the fact is most of the ecosystem is already on Ethereum. So you have so-called network effect, same as with Facebook, with social network. And at the end of the day, that's the most important thing. So just focus on Ethereum. And also, very important, be aware that the technology of Ethereum is actually exported in many other blockchains. So you have to separate the technology from the deployment. You have Ethereum, the technology, and then you have the deployment. You have the Ethereum mainnet, that's the main deployment, but you also have Binance Smart Chain based on Ethereum virtual machine, Polygon, Avalanche, and many others. So so be focused on Ethereum, study how it works, and then you can start to. The next step is to start learn smart contract programming with the Solidity programming language. So you have other programming language for smart contract, but by far Solidity is the most used. It looks like JavaScript, but it's actually just the syntax. It's actually quite different from JavaScript. When you learn Solidity, be aware that this is a language very different from the other one. So don't start to, especially if you're a beginner, don't start to generalize and to think like other programming language are like Solidity, because that's really not the case. Solidity is very limited, is much more new, and much more limited. So you do your first smart contract, and after the next step is to add a front end to your smart contract, because if you just have a smart contract, it's possible to interact with them, but you need to use the command line. So who's going to do that? So not even yourself.
When you start off, just use Visual Studio, man. Just use that. Interact with the folder structure. Don't mind about the command line yet. Especially for beginners.
Yeah.
Otherwise they get confused.
So if you want to talk about a code editor, that's a whole other discussion. So you're a VS Code guy?
You know what? I'm not so much like, that's not my personal preference, so to speak. The Webstorm, all those other ones are great. Notepad if I can. But the only thing that I really love about it has all the utilities that I need. It's there. It's a quick download, and I use it. And for me, it's very much easy to explain tutorials myself on VS Code. So I use it throughout my day. I mean, if I find a better one, like you said, it's a whole discussion on its own. Apart from Solidity being so different, and I get what you're saying, because Solidity, what you're talking about there, actually, what I'm getting from it, is the way you code with Solidity is obviously a way, how can I put this? You have to think quite differently because you have limited space. It's not like you have the freedom of JavaScript and browser engines that can just run tremendously big computations. You have to think about space allocation. You have to think about how's these things going to actually work, re-entry attacks, all those kind of things. And the biggest part for me about that, I think, and you probably experienced this, is the immutability of it. You cannot change it once it's on, and that's scary for new beginners, especially.
Yeah, and the cost of failure is also much bigger. If you just code a JavaScript program, or you can just write some test, you make mistake, or let's say you send bad record to your database for development, you can just erase everything. But unfortunately, things aren't so easy. for smart contract, and you can have users who lose real money. Yeah. One big difference between smart contract and normal other program on the web is that with smart contract, it's as if you have a built-in PayPal feature.
And
right?
There's always money in there. It's like a built-in PayPal feature, and there's always like money flowing through it. And at some point, you know, you have hackers' eyes constantly on these contracts, and it's just like it's a piece of meat laying somewhere in the desert, and there's just vultures, and you have to protect that piece of meat with as clean as possible code. So I get what you're saying there. It's like crazy.
Yeah. It's an additional stress. And this is similar to the hardware industry. You know, when you ship a program for hardware, you can't modify it. But on the other hand, it's also what makes it interesting because the stakes are higher. It's much more exciting to code something that's going to manipulate people money as opposed to just do some CSS and make it nicer. It's not exactly the same thing. So you learn Solidity. You need to learn how to test your code. Testing is super important for smart contract. It's not something optional. And once you do this, so as we said before, you need to add a front end. And so I told you before that you need to learn web development, and that's when it's going to come in very handy. So to do a front end, so actually we call this a decentralized application. The smart contract plus the front end is called a DApp or decentralized application. And so you're going to code the front end with HTML, CSS, JavaScript, and probably React. You're going to use a library called Web3 or Ethers to connect to your smart contract. And so when users will use your smart contract from their front end, from their point of view, it's as if there is no smart contract. The only blockchain experience, the only thing that is different compared to a web app is that there is this interaction with MetaMask. But for the other thing, they just load the URL and they see this web page. And so once you know how to do a full decentralized application, now you start to be closer to your first job. After that, I don't think you're ready yet. After that, you need to learn a little bit more about the different specific use case. Because you don't want to be, at this point, you know, the industry start to be more specialized. You don't want to be some sort of generic blockchain developer. You want to be specialized in a use case. So we have two use cases, DeFi and NFTs. So pick one of them, start to learn the project in the space, learn their smart contract, and then you will be more marketable.
Yeah, I agree with you there. You know, definitely specialize in a specific field on the blockchain, because also, like you said, it makes you more marketable, as well as you become proficient in what you're doing, and then innovation comes. Once you understand what you're doing and what goes into these things, it allows for innovation, right? So I love that. I love that, Julien. Thank you so much for that information and for the guidance. I think a lot of developers watching this, would really take that to heart and start their journey. And I hope people watching this actually do start their journey, because what's the best way of learning, by just starting with something. So I think that's pretty cool, man. I actually have one last question for you. And this question is regarding what is your next project? Because I know you're a busy man. We just explained to ourselves here how it feels like sitting through hours and hours and weekends, But what is your next project and what you're busy with?
Yeah, so now I'm busy on two things. So first, I'm busy on scaling EatTheBlocks and turning this into a full academy where it's not just me, but we have the different instructors. So I've already started to do this. We had our first instructor, Joseph, that released this course on NFTs. It's going to release others. We have a new instructor starting next week. So we're really going to add a lot of courses to our catalog. So that's super cool. And another thing I'm starting now is a DAO for developers. Okay. So this is a DAO that basically it's going to be based on a hackathon. So this is going to be a recurring hackathon. Actually, I already started to do it, but I did it in a very simple way. But in the future, it's going to be a little bit more organized. So
sorry,
basically,
Julien, if I might stop you there, can you maybe explain to the users watching what a DAO is? Because I know a lot of questions, arise amongst, NFT enthusiasts or anyone in the blockchain space that just gets started. Maybe just explain to them what that is, a DAO is.
So there was this definition that was given by someone famous on crypto Twitter that said a DAO is a community with a bank account. So that's the simple version. You can also see it as the future of companies. Mm-hmm. It's possible that in the future, most big companies are DAO, so they will be represented as a smart contract, and any participant in the DAO will be able to vote for the investment decisions of the treasury of the DAO. So the DAO historically they had a bad connotation because of the what is called the DAO. That was the first DAO on Ethereum in 2016 that got infamous for losing $150 million, and I was responsible for the fork between Ethereum Classic and the Ethereum, the main Ethereum chain. So DAO were kind of dead for a few years, and then they came back in fashion about, I think, 1 or 2 years ago. And so now we see this resurgence in DAO, and we see different kind of DAO. They are investment DAO, so this is basically a sort of decentralized investment fund. Then a lot of DAO that you see in DeFi, they are for governance. So any participant in the DAO can vote for the evolution of a DeFi protocol. And then there are also DAO for all sort of purpose. You have service DAO. So for example, you have this DAO for developers, which is called the Guild. I think it's the Guild DAO, something like this. So it's basically a bunch of freelancers who do a blockchain project, but they are organized with a DAO. You can any sort of community can be represented in a DAO. And so the DAO that I'm building, this is a DAO the primary function would be to help developers to showcase their skills so that they can be hired for blockchain company. And we're going to do this with hackathons. So by participating to hackathon, first, you challenge yourself because you have to deliver a full project that is working. Mm-hmm. You also get some prize if you win the hackathon, so that's an extra motivation. And at the end, there are going to be some technical experts that are going to rate your project, and based on that, companies are going to select the participants of the hackathon based on these notations. And so I do this. I decided to do this because I think this is one of the biggest problem we have in the space, which is to basically the hiring of blockchain developers. Like if you talk to any crypto company, they will all tell you the same thing. Is that they are always asking, "Hey, do you know any good crypto developer? We're trying to hire some." The scarce resource in this space is not money. We are showered with money. Like every day there is a new announcement. Oh, a new crypto fund. Oh, a new $2 million of prize for this ecosystem or whatever. Yeah. This is not the problem. The bottleneck is a crypto developer, and especially matching. So to solve this problem, I want to build a system that can basically fluidify the system and help to match job seeker with companies. And I think the best way to do this is with hackathon, where people can show their skill. Because at the end of the day, you will get paid to build something. So the best way to show that you can build something is to build something.
To build it, yeah, exactly, absolutely. Like, just I don't know who told this to me. I was in the Twitter space just now, and someone just said, you know, I've got this beautiful thing and this is how it's going to work and I can do this. And the guy just simply said, well, show it to me. Like, where is it then? Like, prove it to me, it's there. I absolutely agree with you. I think resources is the biggest issue in this space. And not only that, proper resources. Because anyone can say they're a blockchain dev, you know, they've deployed a smart contract. But if you're not a proper blockchain dev that understands the mechanics of the blockchain and how it works and how it can influence certain other things, that's very important. And I think hackathons and the stuff that you guys are busy doing is truly amazing in that sense. You know, getting that quality resources of developers together and actually connecting them to companies.
Yeah, that's true. So I will soon do an announcement about this new project with more details. But yeah, I'm super excited about this.
I'm sure all the developers on here wants to know how they can get involved with that. So I think if you're watching this and you are a developer, you know, go and check out EatTheBlocks, go and check out Julien's spaces wherever he is, and also make sure to just follow all the social medias. I think we'll leave all the social media links in the description below. And then go ahead and follow EatTheBlocks, follow Julien and his journey, because I'm pretty sure he is going to be the biggest blockchain developer account on YouTube. And like I said, he has amazing content. So if you just want to go and learn about you know, Solidity, smart contracts, how to do certain things on the blockchain, he has amazing content for that. So I very much urge everyone to go and check his channels out. So Julien, I just want to personally thank you for sitting today and just having this amazing interview. And it was so nice to just meet you as well in person.
Yeah, thank you so much, Daniel, for inviting me. I had a great time chatting with you. And good luck with HashLips.
Thanks, man. Cheers for now.
Yeah.
And that's the end of our interview with Julien from EatTheBlocks. I encourage you guys to go ahead and follow him. I've left his details in the description below of this video. By the way, thank you to the 21,000 subscribers to this channel. I will try my best to keep making awesome content. Now, if you liked this video, leave a like and also a comment. I do read them. Lastly, subscribe so you don't miss out. Then I'll see you guys in the next video. Cheers for now.